And what that is I'm helping with thought leadership on value stream management. Our company provides value stream management software for the industry, and we have 5 of the leading tools for value stream management. Don't worry, this is not a tool talk. This is just pure thought leadership. And besides creating our own tools for software lifecycle integration and DevOps, it also there's artificial intelligence and machine learning, and it can grab data from all these different tools. So my role is basically providing guidance to our internal teams about our platform and working with strategic customers and implementing new and exciting ideas in value stream management and helping customers get the most out of their digital transformation. And value stream management is something that I'm pretty passionate about. I think it's kind of the glue that's missing between Agile and Lean. I don't know how many people here have had this experience, but it'd be interesting to show a raise of hands. How many people think that you've really have gotten the benefit out of your Agile transformations, the full benefit?
Well, using what process?
Well,
There's lots of different ways to do it.
if you did an Agile transformation, are you getting the full benefits of your Agile transformation? Whether you're using SAFe, whether you're using Scrum, what doesn't matter what you're using as
I don't think I've gone through lots of transformations, and I don't believe I've seen one that is getting the full value they could, because I think there's a lot of, I think there's still too many dependencies in the value stream chain.
Oh my goodness. And even as a technical coach, that's the killer.
Right.
All the dependencies.
A very good question you mentioned about value stream benefit session. For every transformation where I've been part of, this is an agile process. So still our customers, the top hierarchy always define, are we having the same value of the value what we defined? So it is a process in evolution, defining the value. So before we say, oh, we achieved 100% of the defined value, they change the definition of the value according to their perceptions. And your question, can we say our customers are satisfied if that is a definition? They always say, no, not yet. We are almost there, but we are not yet there. So that's what my perception from all the transformation I've been part of. And we are here to learn how can we do more than, so our customers say yes, to learn from you.
Right. Now, the great thing is, frameworks like SAFe, and I think it's the only framework that I'm aware of, incorporates value stream management in it.
How about the lean process itself?
Well, the lean process itself, if sure, absolutely, but then the lean process is missing Agile. So what's nice about SAFe is that it incorporates both lean and Agile, and value stream management is part of it. And in this talk today, we're not going to be talking about any particular framework. It's just going to be more on doing transformations using lean and Agile, and specifically on how can you use value stream management to improve your digital transformations. And today you have to do 2 things. You have to digitize your organization. And what I mean by digitizing your organization is improve your processes using automation and using digital tooling in order to accomplish your goals. And you also need to become an organization which is delivering new products and services using digital technologies. So you need to do both. One without the other doesn't work. And I just want to give a shout out to 2 of my friends that are on the call today, Harry Kahneman and Andrew Sales, who are part of who are my peeps on the framework team that I've worked with in the past.
Hey, Andrew. Hey, Harry. How you guys doing?
Hey, folks. Nice to be here. Thanks, Rich.
All righty. So let's go into the presentation. This is just a little bit about me, but enough about me because we already discussed that. Let's move on to something else. But I'm working on the value stream management consortium, and that's pretty exciting. All of our competitors in this field have gotten together and decided that we want to raise the visibility of value stream management, because what we're seeing in the field is, whether you're using SAFe or Lean or Agile, is organizations are not bracing value stream management enough. And in the surveys that we've taken, there is just a small percentage of people who are doing what we call value stream management. If you're implementing SAFe, you're definitely a long way there, but you still may not be addressing all of the value stream issues. So some of the key challenges that we're seeing today is that we need to improve agility. So that's where we want to digitize our business so that we can drive faster value delivery. And another important aspect is increasing efficiency. How do we automate the software lifecycle and the orchestration, the DevOps pipeline, testing, building, every aspect of it? And also, how do we align strategy and execution so that we can increase collaboration and visibility across teams? Of course, quality is important. Often we're under the gun to get things out the door quickly, and we want to be able to not only deliver value quickly, but we want to deliver the most amount of value in that time. And we also want to protect against threats. And today, many companies are protecting threats by doing inspection. We're going to do security tests. And while that's good, it's not necessarily the best way anymore. There are tools out today that will help you protect your applications by obfuscating the source code, obfuscating data, so that your applications cannot be reverse engineered. So it's called app protection, and it's a very important part of the software delivery lifecycle. What we're seeing out there is a lot of cybersecurity issues and hacks, and people getting into corporate systems and causing all sorts of problems. So we need to also pay quite a bit of attention. The other thing that we're seeing about is organizations are still managing using projects instead of being organized in value streams, and then within value streams, within teams of agile teams. In SAFe, we call that an agile release train. In other methods, they might call that a tribe, or just a team of agile teams. So most companies, they often look at outputs and net outcomes. So we're tracking how many features we did, we're tracking how many stories we've accomplished, and we're tracking a lot of work to done. But just because you've created outputs doesn't mean that you're going to achieve business outcomes. So we need to do more than just saying that we're done with features and stories and that kind of functionality, that we actually are delivering on value. And that's one of the things about value stream management, is there's a lot of emphasis and focus on value itself. And when I'll talk about organizing and value streams in a while and how that helps with that value delivery. The project model, as most of you have probably experienced, has not been optimized for value and flow. And I'm not saying that projects are bad, but the model was designed to be very predictive. And if you're still using the project model and you're using SAFe or Spotify or Scrum or Kanban, you're going to be slowed down inherently by the model itself. And I like this quote from Mary and Tom Poppendieck that talks about, it would be much better to assign work to established teams than to reconstitute teams around projects. So in other words, we want to bring the work to the people and not people to the work. We want stable teams that stay together for long periods of time. And that allows us to achieve a lot faster value delivery and with higher quality. I don't know about you, but when you're on a project team, you tend to focus on completing tasks instead of delivering value. However, if you're organized around a product, you're organized around a service, and that team is staying together for long periods of time, then your focus is really on delivering more and more value for that product or service that you're working on. In projects, we're often focused on resource utilization instead of throughput of value. And that's because we're assigned part-time often to a project, and we have more than one project that we're working on. We often fund projects and we haven't even proven its benefit hypothesis. And I often joke and tell people that I'm one of the best fiction writers of all time. And that's because I've written many, many business cases that were based on speculative return on investment. And the thing is, nobody ever checks those business cases to see whether we actually achieved the value in those business cases. So we need to change the model how we fund things, and funding projects is not the best way. And we don't want to fully fund something until we've proven the benefit hypothesis, that we're going to make progress towards achieving those benefits. And we don't want to have temporary teams that disband when the work is done. We want them to stay together for long periods of time. And putting together a project budget can often requires taking people from different functional silos. You have people who are in a testing group, in a development group, in a business analysis group, in a user experience design, and we're creating a team based upon all that, but they still are reporting to their functional manager, and even worse, they're getting their day-to-day task direction from their functional manager. And this all causes delays and handoffs and siloed thinking. And often, even though we're maybe managing an agile project, things seems to still use the iron triangle: fixed scope, fixed costs, fixed dates. Even though that's not the intent, is where we often end up. And we govern using phase gate milestones often when we're using projects, even agile projects. And when I worked at IBM, we still had a phase gate approval process, even though that we were, developing, quote, using agile mindset and agile methods. The phase gates always turned the projects into non-agile projects to some degree. Why do we need value stream management? And when you look at some statistics from the various analysts, about 38% of business professionals say that they're doing an excellent job creating new value for customers, which means there's 62% of people who are not. 30% of IT and business professionals say they're measuring the value development efforts to the business. That means 70% of the people are not measuring value. Raise your hand using your icon in Zoom if you're measuring business value. Okay, that's not good news. And there may be some people raising their hands, but I'm not seeing it. So Mahesh, that's great. One out of a lot of people on this call. The other thing I mentioned was about security. 97% of apps that are deployed do not have appropriate levels of protection, which means that the app itself is not protected. When we code things, we are always going to miss something. There'll always be some security loophole or hack that can be done. So we want to be able to implement software that protects the apps from it being hacked. So if you do miss something in your security testing, and where new threats emerge, that your app is indeed protected. And 74% of companies out there have experienced a very material cyber attack. And if you work for the US government, the last thing you want to do is appear on the front cover of the New York Times or the Washington Post that your agency got hacked. And it's probably similar if you're in a large enterprise. You also don't want to appear in the paper or on the nightly news that you've been hacked. And you really are not taking care of your customers in that respect. So I think we need to give more attention to protecting against cyber attacks. And we now have the tools to prevent against those attacks without just doing inspection. And we all know that inspection is not the best way to ensure higher quality. It's that we need to build in quality. We also need to build in security. And you'll see today, there's a lot of discussion about DevSecOps. You know, it's so important that people want to include the term in between dev and ops. And what we find is a lot of organizations, even though they've implemented agile methods, are still not getting the full benefits of their agile transformation. And often their time to market is still not good enough, or their quality may not be good enough. And one of the main sources of that problem is because we are organized in silos. And unfortunately, organized in silos causes local optimizations and handoffs and delays caused by that. And so as an example, an insurance company, they may start off being organized in functional silos. And then, as the company grows, they may decide to organize itself in IT departments, marketing, underwriting, auto, homes, claims, etc. That doesn't work. So they may next organize by technical domains like analysis, development, testing, compliance. Then they may try things like organizing in technology layers, such as front end, middleware, back end. No matter how you slice it, what happens is silos inhibit the collaboration and sharing of common goals, priorities, rewards, and incentives. And even worse, in order to get value from point A to point B, value must wind its way through a complicated maze of silos until it reaches the customer. And we need to increase revenue, accelerate innovation, improve our time to market, reduce cost, and protect our digital assets and data. And it's very difficult to do that when we have silos. From an application delivery point, we need to reduce defects and tech debt, increase our quality. We want to make sure that we're adding high priority features and ensuring performance of our apps, decreasing the amount of time it takes to release, and achieving a continuous delivery model. And that's what's required today in order to compete in today's ever-increasing digital era. We're in the age of software, or the digital age is another way of saying that. And things move really fast. And last year with COVID, and we're still experiencing it now, that further exacerbated the challenges of having to move quickly. So all in all, that results in a bunch of significant challenges. Silo teams, bottlenecks, handoffs, disparate tools, disconnected data. It's amazing that anything gets done in our large organizations. And that's because we have great people there and they do great work. But the system is getting in the way. And when we have silos, it's very difficult to be aligned and have visibility into the business goals. And I'm sure everyone has experience where people are going in all sorts of different directions. Even though we're agile, even though we're lean, we are still not in alignment. And alignment is not something that naturally happens. You have to get people into alignment. It's just not a natural state. We also have limited visibility into both our business data and our execution data from development. We need to see both our business data and our development data together and be able to look at business outcomes as well as delivery KPIs for the business. And outputs are still important because it gives us an idea of how healthy our system is working to produce the outputs that enable those outcomes. So the next question to ask yourself, is your organization a caterpillar or a butterfly? Most organizations are caterpillars, and when they do their digital transformations, they become faster. But what you really want to happen is you want your organization to go through a metamorphosis, a true transformation, and transform how the organization actually operates, how it organizes its people, how it conducts its work, to constantly optimize those factors. And the problem is when you do just an agile transformation, often those efforts fail, and all you have is a faster caterpillar. And we can't just be faster caterpillars today. We need to transform ourselves into that better butterfly. And being the caterpillar is all about digitization. It's about efficiency. And becoming a butterfly is transforming how the organization delivers business value. So let's talk about, we're talking about value streams. What do we mean by, what is a value stream? A value stream is simply the series of interconnected processes that's required to deliver a product or service to a customer from the very start of a request until it's in the customer's hands. And what you're seeing below is I call it a business value stream. In SAFe, they call it an operational value stream. Both are used in the field. Feel free to use either. And value streams not only contains a few things. The trigger, what is the start of that request? Next, the second thing is the processes. What processes are there between the trigger and delivering value? So you're seeing these green chevrons, and they represent steps to go from concept to cash or from request to delivery. That's what a value stream simply is. But value streams also contain the people that develop the systems, the people that sell those systems, sell the products, the process, the information, and tools that are necessary to create value. So it's just more than processes, it's all of the above. So there are different types of value streams. There are business value streams, and as I mentioned, they're often called operational value streams. And these value streams are the people who sell the products and services to external customers. So a couple examples might be, you need to insure your car. There's a request to insure your car until it's fulfilled. That's an example of a value stream. Providing a loan, filling a pharmacy order, and so on. The other type of value stream is a development value stream, and some organizations call them a DevOps value stream. Either works for me. And what a development value stream does, it comes up with a benefit hypothesis, and it turns that into a digital feature, product, or service. And examples include developing an internal software application for customer service, or perhaps designing an Apple Watch wearable tech, or implementing new features for a retail bank's website. So basically, the development value streams create the products, which are often digital today, and the business value streams are the people who use those digital products to sell services to customers and as well as products. So another thing that's becoming of age now is value stream management. So we've had the idea of value streams, but we also need to manage value streams. So value stream management is a set of lean principles and practices that optimize the application of people, process, and technology to improve the flow of business value continuously from ideation to customer delivery. And on the left here, this left side picture, you'll see the different components of a value stream management system. We have agile planning and portfolio management. We have those systems to help us develop software. And it also includes things like design thinking and customer centricity, and all the stuff that you see in SAFe or Spotify, the different models of development, securing the application, testing the application, release and deploy, and the management of that application. And of course, when we do development work, we want to be operating in a fast DevSecOps delivery pipeline. All of this results in, together with measuring business outcomes, using enterprise agility, app protection, and focusing on value delivery is what makes a value stream management tool. And here I'm not, my main focus is not talking about tooling, but talking about the different practices that we need for value stream management. So value stream management is the people, process, and tools, and we're going to go through each one of these things. So some of the problems that we have today is that organizations, because Agile is about empowering people, many organizations, people have different tools. They have different tools for project management. They have different tools for doing development work, different IDEs, different release tools, different deploy tools. It's a lot of different silos that are created as well, just from our tooling and the way people are organized. And we need to be able to deliver across all this complicated infrastructure. And it's very difficult to get a unified tool or just have one tool that does all that work. That doesn't work. So we need to be able to gather information from all of our tooling. And I'm not just talking about our development tooling, but I'm also talking about from our customer relationship management tools. We also need to be able to get information like technology business management data, which helps us understand our cost of our value streams, or the cost of our agile release trains, or the cost of an agile team, or how much a value stream is costing us, how much certain applications are costing us. We need to be looking at both business and execution data at the same time. And that allows us to increase value, accelerate innovation, and improve our time to market. And we need insights from our data. And in the past, we have not been able to get the insights we need. There's all this data out there. There's so much of it. It's almost overwhelming. It is overwhelming from all these different sources. So we need to be able to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to do a couple of things. Looking into the value stream using AI and machine learning gives us a whole new way to see within the value stream. And when you map a value stream, that helps you see the flow that's happening in the value stream. It's kind of like the catwalk above a manufacturing plant and being able to see cars as they're going down the manufacturing line. So over the years, we've taken lean and value stream management from lean manufacturing, especially Toyota, and we've now applied it to software development. And that's still relatively new, even though lean and value streams has been around for a long time. But applying it to software and systems is still very new, and we're still figuring out the different things that we need to do to manage a software value stream or systems value stream. So people is a very important component of value stream management. And Mary and Tom Poppendieck have a great book on lean product development. And one of their quotes in the book is, organizational boundaries can increase cost by 20% or more. They create buffers that slow down response time and interfere with communication. It also interferes with learning. And again, it also results in handoffs as well. So to counteract that, we need to organize our people not in projects, but we need to organize them in value streams around a particular product, around a particular service, or set of processes. So you may organize teams around idea to market to order, and order to cash. And that's an example of some IT processes that you might be automating. We need to create cross-functional agile teams, and we need to be able to manage our value streams in a portfolio, because those value streams represent the investments that we're making in the people and in the technology required to bring products and services to market today. Today, almost every product and service relies on technology. That's the modern fabric of our products today, is technology. So we want to create cross-functional teams that not only include developers and testers and operations, but we also want it to include business people as well. And so that each team can deliver end-to-end functionality without being siloed, without having delays and handoffs as much as possible. Now, it's not always possible to do that, but as much as we can, we want our agile teams to be truly cross-functional, and this way they can operate with much more speed and agility. The other thing is we want to organize our teams around value streams. So in this case, we have an art for insurance. We have a value stream for auto insurance. And within that value stream, we have two agile release trains represented by these gray ovals. One is for auto renewal, and the other is for new policy. So I think one of the mistakes that I often see in organizations is that they're moving the silos from functional silos, such as development, test, etc., or they move it from layers of technology to being organized around. I'm just gonna give a chance to that person to mute. So one of the things that I've learned from SAFE and also from working with Manuel Pace and Matt Skelton is team topologies. And it just describes a really good way of how you might organize your teams. So for the most part, you want your teams to be aligned with a particular value. So for example, if we just organized this agile release train or tribe or whatever you may call it around a particular system, such as a CRM system, and another system for actuarial, and another system for requesting a quote and then billing, etc., we'd have our silos would now be systems. So we want to be stream aligned. We want to be aligned with a particular, concept to cash type of value. So in this case, we have 3 stream aligned teams, and stream aligned teams means it's aligned with particular value delivery. And so we have new policies for young drivers. And that policy may be different, that value delivery may be different in the business value stream than when we're doing mature drivers. Or if we want to have a customer go from one company to a different company, that's called a competitor policy takeout. So these teams are aligned around a particular value delivery. And so on the left here is showing the different types of teams that Matt and Manuel have identified, and they're just patterns. So we have a complicated subsystem. So an actuarial system is very complicated, it's very difficult math, very difficult domain to learn. So we might have a team organized around a complicated subsystem. We want to try to avoid organizing teams around a particular layer of our infrastructure or particular domain, because again, that creates silos. We want the whole thing from concept to cash. And that's what stream aligned teams do. is when you have from concept to cash being organized around providing value around new drivers or young drivers or competitive takeout. And I'm not saying that that's the way that you'd always do it. Each company is going to have a different way where a different organization is going to provide the best way to deliver value to their customers. There's also a thing called an enabling team. An enabling team helps provide like internal consulting to all the other teams in areas which they have not become good at yet. And that might be in DevOps, that might be with automated testing and any number of things along that line. And then you also have a platform team, and a platform team helps the other teams with things such as setting up development environments and test environments, and really providing the infrastructure for teams to operate. So this allows the platform team helps streamline teams deliver with more autonomy. They create self-service APIs, they create tools, services, and have knowledge to help the streamlined teams focus on delivering value for their particular stream of value. An example of a platform team in SAFE would be a system team. And they are the kind of experts that help streamline teams get their work done, as well as help them so that they can provision an environment just by pressing a button and not having to wait on somebody to do that or learning how to do that themselves. So the platform team helps teams become more self-sufficient. The next thing we want to do from a people perspective is that we want to organize the portfolio. We want to organize the enterprise into portfolios. So what you're seeing here is you're seeing ABC Insurance Company, that's the enterprise. And there are 4 portfolios here: home and auto, personal, recreational insurance for like motorhomes, boats, RVs, and all that fun stuff, and business, auto repairs, contractors, education, etc. And then within each portfolio, there are value streams. There are both development value streams as well as operational value streams. And again, the development value streams, they create the products and services for the business value streams who sell those products and services. So I'm going to pause there for a moment and see if there are questions, because I've been talking about a lot of different things.
Yeah, I have a question,
Sure.
because this is kind of, like Lean 101 combined with DevOps. And at least in my experience, understanding that, at least as a consultant, is not the hard part. The hard part is getting management to stop counting the beans that are easy to count, like story points, and actually count things that matter, like business value, and getting a product out the door. And my question to you is, how do you deal with those people problems? Because that's what I find personally the real challenge, because it's in many ways against their organizational best interest. I mean, it's not against the company's best interest, but it's against the individual middle management's best interest and their silos and rewards and all of that sort of stuff that they're getting from the way that they are currently financially rewarded or organized. Thoughts?
Oh, Richard, you're on mute. Oh, you're still on mute, dude. Again, there he is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what caused me to go on mute, but I must have hit the wrong button. In any case, I completely understand the point, Camille, and it is very difficult to change those behaviors. I mean, it's much easier to be able to count story points or how many features did we deliver.
Hmm.
But those are still outputs, right, Camille? Even-
Yes, exactly. That's my point.
Yeah, and so the hard part is really we got to teach people how to define what value is. First of all, what do we mean by value? And the definition of value in different organizations means different things. Is value simply the amount of money a customer is willing to pay for your product or service? Or is it something else? So for the organization that is selling products and services, when we talk about value, it's the money that they make from the customers. If you look at the customer's perspective, value is what they get out of that product or service. You know, I would even dare to say it's how do they feel? Value to a customer is made, how do I feel about a product and service? Does it make me happy? Does it meet my needs? So there isn't one definition of value, and therefore we also need to have different measurements which puts together the value picture. Because you just can't say it's our revenue that we're collecting or our market share. We have to look at both cases.
Totally agree. And there's some other factors too, particularly if you're in the government space. So how do you convince management to do that?
It's through education. You have to teach them about Agile and Lean, and you also have to be able to provide the metrics that they're looking to, able to have the systems that will collect the measurements for you and analyze that data. And a lot of this data is locked up in many different systems. And that's a big part of the problem, is bringing the data from all these different systems is really difficult. So I think once we can start putting this data in things like data lakes and other types of stores and be able to use AI and machine learning to understand patterns, because outputs are also important too. What is the impact that when we implemented this new feature or this new product, how did that affect our product sales? We need to be able to correlate those two things. And that's why value is not very simple. It's several measurements. And I'm going to
and it's not just value for what am I going to make this next quarter, but what's going to actually benefit us in the long term.
Right.
Well, if I may jump in there real quick, and as coaches and leaders, we have to ask the really difficult questions, because depending on what the bonuses are and what people and how we incentivize teams,
Yes,
they may be incentivized on specifically what is the value of my business next quarter, right? If there's something going, so we have to figure out what the long-term goals are or what their real goals are, and we have to continue to ask that question and help educate, because it is a very challenging topic. And I think that's why product management and value streams and things of that sort have been much slower to come than things like DevOps, where you can measure the change, within minutes. And I would like to point out that Adam has been very patient with his hand up.
Yes. Adam, please go ahead and ask your question.
Sure. I do love the tangent we just went on. And my short answer to that one is they have to learn the story points and other stuff is wrong before they're probably going to advance to knowing what they actually want. But my actual question, sorry, Rich, if you want to respond.
No, that's okay. I appreciate your contribution.
If you could go back one slide to the teams, because this is something I was floating with some folks recently. And you were given the example of a platform team. And I think the example you used was a system team. I want to try to get a little more specific with you. I think at its most basic, I think some people see that platform team maybe as a DevOps team, maybe DevOps exclusively. But I'm curious if you could expand if that is true or not. And if not, what other things might fit in there? Like, would architecture fit in there? Or what else might fit in that platform box? What do you think?
So I just want to address the DevOps team, because there shouldn't be a thing called a DevOps team unless it's a DevOps tools team, which is helping the other teams with the DevOps infrastructure. Because the whole point of DevOps is that Dev and Ops are working together. And if you're a developer, you're part of DevOps. If you're in operations, you're part of DevOps. There isn't any more separate Dev and Ops. And I realize that that's the ideal state, and not every organization is there. So that's where the platform team can definitely help with that type of infrastructure and architecture. But I don't want to.
I think that's a good nuance, though, right? Right, like saying that like it's a DevOps team is wrong. To say that they might be helping with DevOps activities and tooling and automation is closer to correct.
Right, and therefore, they'll have APIs which you can go to a website, click a button, and create a new environment in minutes, and also create a ticket that records the fact that you actually created an environment. So we have documentation of that. So they're helping the teams with toolings and infrastructure, environments, and all that kind of stuff. And I recently spoke with Matt and Manuel about this, and we talked over chat about these different teams, and that's how they clarified that to me. Because actually, my understanding at first was a platform team was more like when we develop platforms. No, it's not about that. And I did get that clarified.
Yeah, and the value discussion can go on for quite some time, because I think it is the biggest challenge facing our industry is what is truly valuable to you and your business, and how do you measure that? And you have to accept the fact that measuring it is probably going to be months, quarters, or years after you've delivered what you wanted.
Right, there's leading indicators you can see. Are we making progress towards a benefit hypothesis? So, and then after leading indicators, you want to use actual things like revenue and market share and other business metrics, customer lifetime value, and so on and so on. I see Stanley's got his hand up, so I want to give him an opportunity.
Yes, Richard, thank you. So I want to ask, at what point in time in the transformation of a team into would you encourage value stream might be conducted? At the moment, we started safe implementation, and we are in the PI2, and I don't see that connection between the various streams or between the various teams. And sometimes I'm like, I kind of feel like it's pretty much kind of a hybrid, but we say it's safe. I'm in the first phase. So I'm kind of thinking, what is it I can take back to the organization and suggest like we should be doing this. We just got our RTE recently. We haven't had one in the past, but it's really challenging the teams together.
Right, and that was not my point in the beginning, that a lot of organizations have implemented various frameworks, but they still are not using value stream management. In SAFE, we recommend that at the very beginning, that we're gonna, after we train leaders, is that we identify value streams, or at least one value stream to begin the transformation. And you want to organize people in that value stream and then design trains within that value stream. And I know it's a journey, and often organizations will start out, like you're mentioning, they get a train up and running, but they really haven't mapped a value stream from two perspectives. Mapping the business value stream to understand how value flows in the business value stream, as well as mapping the development value stream to understand how the development value stream delivers value. And it's often much more complicated than we think it is in terms of prioritization processes, request systems, ticket systems. I mean, intake can be all over the place, and it can be very complicated. And we all know that delays are the things that really kill us in getting time to market. So I think it's something that, since you're in where you're at, start from where you're at, map your current value stream, both your business value streams and your development value streams, and then look to optimize that. We're going to talk a little bit about value stream mapping a little bit later on in this presentation and how you might go about that.
And I think, so the sooner you do your value streams, the better. And then redo them just like you want to redo everything else, because you're not going to get them right the first time.
Yeah, I think there's 2 points to that, is that you may not have organized the people value stream in the most optimal way. It's just an hypothesis when you design your value stream. You don't really know whether that's going to be the most optimal way, and that's why you'll see sometimes you'll see organizations which have organized their agile release trains, requirements train, and design train, and development train, and that's obviously wrong-headed because you just created waterfall. And then they may do, architectural layers, and then they may just do parts of a customer journey. And that's still a silo if it's only part of the customer journey. So we're going to get into that more. And you also want to map your value stream multiple times. And in Lean, we say that you need to map your value stream at least 6 times before it's really optimized.
Wow.
It doesn't necessarily have to take a lot of time to map the value streams, but let's save that conversation a little bit later in the presentation. So the next part of value stream management is the process. And an enterprise's processes are a critical component of value stream management. And to optimize value stream management, there are at least 3 things that you should be looking at. Applying the 5 principles of Lean, improving flow with value stream mapping, and embracing the 7 principles of Lean software development. I also love the principles which are in SAFe, the 10 principles, which reinforce this as well. So the 5 principles of Lean. The first one is to identify value. And again, as I mentioned earlier, before you can identify value, we need to define what it means and whose perspective is it coming from. Is it the value that the company gets? Is it the value that the customer get, etc.? The next thing we want to do is we want to map the value streams. We want to map both the business and development value streams. So in the insurance example, we'd want to map the business value stream for auto insurance. And we also want to map the development value stream for creating the software that allows us to offer those insurance products. We want to be able to see on one page how value flows in both types of value streams. Once we have mapped the value stream, we can then look for opportunities to improve the flow of value. This will help us see the bottlenecks. This will be able to see the handoffs. It will allow us to see the delays, because we are going to collect some information about the value streams and see where those bottlenecks occur. The next thing we want to do is establish pull. That is, when we're ready to consume that functionality, we want to be able to pull that. And so we can establish pull using Kanban systems when we're developing software. We can use a portfolio Kanban when we want to pull epics. We can use feature toggles or feature flags so that we can deploy to production quite often. And then when we're ready to release something, we can release it just by turning on the feature toggle so that the business can have the features when they need those features. And the last principle is about seeking perfection. Of course, we'll never achieve perfection, but we want to have continuous, relentless improvement so that we're always seeking how we can improve the way we deliver value to our customers in the business value stream, and how do we deliver our software and systems to our internal users. And we really need to make lean thinking part of our corporate culture and on continuous improvement so that we're always looking for ways to improve how we deliver value. And then the next thing is the principles from Mary and Tom Popendick. They did a great job of taking the lean principles and then applying them to software development. So I'm not going to go deep into these other than the fact that, because they're mainly self-explanatory, eliminating waste, building quality in and sort of inspecting it in, and that build quality in also includes security, as I mentioned before, making sure that we create knowledge. And the kind of work that we do is knowledge work. And through our development processes is we learn what customers need. And most customers don't know what they need until they see it. So we need to get fast feedback. And anytime that we're going to make a decision that is going to have long lasting effects, we want to defer commitment to that architecture or defer commitment to a set of requirements or design until we get more information. And that's why it's important to deliver fast so we can get that learning quickly and then make adjustments. You know, all too often I see today is organizations, even though they say they're lean, they're agile, they're safe, is that they're still delaying getting feedback until the end, or they're doing infrequent releases and they're not getting customer feedback. We need to put things into production so we can get feedback from our customer base or a subset of our customer base using things like canary releases and dark launches to get that feedback. And perhaps one of the most important principles of lean software development is optimizing the whole. If we just optimize part of the value stream, we're going to get local optimizations. And when you do that, that often results in performance actually decreasing overall instead of actually improving. So optimizing a part doesn't mean that the whole is optimized. Even though this book is several years old, it has a lot of great gems in there. The other aspect of process is we want to improve flow for value stream mapping. And when we map a value stream, if we're doing a safe implementation, it helps us understand how we should organize that value stream for flow. But the other part of it is optimizing that value stream for delays and bottlenecks and other things. And I've outlined the steps for value stream mapping in this diagram. So, you know, it typically takes about 3 to 4 weeks to prepare for value stream mapping. You need to identify the value stream that you're going to go after. You need to book a room. You need to identify the right people and get the supplies you need to do the value stream mapping. And so it's quite a bit of preparation. Then we'll map the value stream, typically using stickies, whether they're electronic or whether one day, hopefully we'll be back in person and we can actually touch those physical stickies. Again, I can't wait for that. And we'll map each step of the value stream using the stickies to understand how value flows in that particular value stream. And once we have put down the steps in that value stream, we're going to collect some metrics, such as the lead time, the amount of the lead time that's actually spent on doing value-added work versus doing work that is non-value-added. Now, we can't always eliminate non-value-added work. Some non-value-added work is necessary. Once we have collected our metrics, then we can focus on creating an improvement plan. What should we do? And we design a future state that is better than the current state. And then what we can do is we can now model how long it would take to get value from concept to cash once we have identified our metrics and how the steps will flow in our new process. And from there, just like any process that we're going to improve, we're going to go from a current state to a future state. We need to have a plan, and we should create a backlog of the activities that we need to do in order to eliminate unnecessary steps, eliminate rework and handoffs, and also increase our quality by increasing our complete inaccurate. In other words, the amount of times that a downstream step has to return work back to an upstream step. An example with that is if you have a defect, we got to fix that defect, and whoever developed that feature or that story needs to fix the defects before it can be moved in production. That's an example where we weren't fully complete and accurate. And there's many other examples of that as well. So the next thing that you need to think about when you're doing value stream mapping is what value stream are you going to start with? And this picture is inspired from SAFe when they talk about which agile release train should you start with. And we can apply similar criteria to the value stream. And the value stream that you start with often lies at the intersection of these four variables. Strong leadership support. So if leaders have supported a lean agile development, that's probably a good value stream to start with. Is the value stream easy to see? So for example, there's a clear product and service that value stream provides. Are there existing agile teams already collaborating together? And I think the last one is very important too. Is there a significant challenge or opportunity? So if there's a really critical problem, we should look at prioritizing that value stream higher. If we select a very easy value stream to improve, that may not really prove anything to our organization, that this will work anywhere in the organization. But if you select something challenging or hard, and it worked for that challenging or hard value stream, chances are that it will work throughout the organization. So my suggestion is try to find the value stream that best fits within the best fit with these four criteria. And sometimes, you have a burning platform that you need to fix a problem right away. And often that times that bubbles to the top, that significant challenge or opportunity. Technology is a very important piece of value stream management. And this isn't meant to be a commercial, but this is just an example of a value stream management platform from my company, Digital.ai. And you can see that there is several parts to value stream management platform. One is that it has the different tools that you need. A platform for agile planning and portfolio management, release, deploy, application protection, and continuous testing, as well as getting information from your ITSM systems. You may be using ServiceNow or Jira or something like that for ITSM. And you want to be able to have data across all of those different domains. And this way we can get a 360-degree view of the functionality that we're providing and getting data from every step of the value stream. And then we need to have intelligence, because with all that data, how do you make sense of it? In the past, it wouldn't have made sense to have a platform like this because you just couldn't understand and analyze the data. But with AI, artificial intelligence and machine learning, we can now see into the value stream in ways that we never thought were possible, and to correlate orchestration data with also business outcomes, and use various analytics to tie together both business metrics as well as development metrics and outputs, and be able to predict issues. That's really cool about what you can do with artificial intelligence and machine learning. How many times have you deployed something in production and found out that it blew up? And if you had something that could examine when is the last time that this code was refactored, or this hasn't been tested, you didn't have good code coverage, we can now see into the value stream and able to predict problems before they might occur. And there are many ways in which we can do that. And we're learning various patterns. We're experimenting with the types of things that's going to help us predict whether something will be successfully deployed into the value stream. Once something has been deployed and your customers are using that system or software, we want to collect metrics about its usage, its user experience. Do people find it easy to use? Can they even find that feature that you've just put out there? Is it easy to use? Does it meet their needs? And so this is what we call the panoramic view, the 360-degree view of the information. So we need everything from metrics and measurements to orchestrating the full life cycle. Even if you have different tooling, if you can connect the data from the different tooling, then you could orchestrate across many different disparate tools. And then the last part, having this wide angle lens, being able to see not only the development value stream, but the business value stream, and see it together and take data from other systems to provide a complete picture of what's happening. We discussed earlier about focusing on outcomes over outputs, but what I find is many people are confused about outputs versus outcomes. So an easy way to think about this is that outputs are something that's done to accomplish a goal. We might be coding something. We might be developing a feature. We might be fixing technical debt. We might be creating a new product. That's the output. The outcome are the results of those outputs. It's the end state that was possible as a result of doing some type of work. So outputs are developing a feature, conducting a product demo, having a user conference, deploying code to production. Those are all outputs. And typically, achieving the business outcomes requires you to do many different types of outputs, and we need to be able to track that. The business outcomes include things like increased customer satisfaction, increased revenue, market share, customer lifetime value, cultural change, efficiency, and so on and so on. And we need to be able to measure both outputs and outcomes because one has an impact on the other. And it's important that you don't turn your metrics into just a numerical target. And I love this quote by Deming, and it's so true. If you give a manager a numerical target, he'll make it even if it has to destroy the company in the process. And we all know our rewards and incentives drive the wrong behaviors, right? And so we got to be very careful with metrics. So at the same time, I love metrics. At the same time, I hate metrics because it often can cause the wrong behavior to happen. And that's why we have to have a mix of metrics. Value stream management helps deliver measurable value by paying attention to people, processes, and technology. So it allows us to increase our value. We want to be able to prioritize which investments are likely to provide the biggest payoff. We want to eliminate guesswork as much as possible, track our value end to end from concept to cash, and also understand the demand from our users. So again, that business data can be helpful to help understand what we might need to do to our delivery platform. Every business is a customer delivery platform. And we've discussed several times about improving efficiency, the bottlenecks, the waste, being able to see what's happening in real time, what's happening in our operations world. Are we experiencing any performance issues? Is a transaction stuck? Is a certain functionality not working? That will happen. If you're an e-commerce company, and I work for one of the largest e-commerce companies for GSI Commerce, which was a part of eBay. And, if we just lose an hour of transactions, that was millions and millions of dollars. If you're on a trading floor and you can't access your systems to complete trades, that's many, many millions of dollars. But we can't have an obsession with efficiency. if we just make things more efficient, we're back to that faster caterpillar. We haven't transformed into the butterfly that has gone through a metamorphosis to deliver value faster. And reducing risk needs to be done in many different ways. Let's be able to test our hypothesis and be able to get feedback from our customers in different customer segments. And we can do that with things like canary launches and dark launches to get that customer. We need to be able to automate compliance and be able to report out on the results of our compliance test. And of course, we need to pay attention to quality and eliminate bugs. It's a lot of stuff that we need to do. And that's why a value stream management, the three aspects of value stream management are so critical: people, process, and technology. Another important aspect is that we need to steer with metrics, things like objectives and key results, business KPIs. Those are business performance measures. It can be measures of progress at companies' goals. It can measure progress against revenue, your average recurring revenue, as an example. I love OKRs, but you need to be careful with them too, because they're often misused. And when we start cascading OKRs down, and it becomes management by objective, and we don't want to do that. So I suggest that you really do some research on how to use OKRs, and there's also some great advice in the Scaled Agile framework about OKRs. The DORA metrics are good. It kind of helps us understand the health of our DevOps pipeline, along with the flow metrics. And the nice thing about the DORA metrics, and I'll show you what those look like in a few moments, is that we can baseline those metrics against other organizations and see how we can compare. If you're using SAFe, you certainly want, or perhaps even Spotify, although I don't really think that's a true framework, is that you want to look at your program performance metrics, things like program predictability and how many features that you planned, how many features that you delivered, your code coverage, defects, a lot of the output metrics that would be underneath there. Then lean portfolio metrics are more about assessing our progress of our portfolio to meeting its strategic themes. And that's just as important as well. We want to make sure that we're actually making business impact, and that we can look at how different parts of our portfolio are performing. And maybe we want to put more investment in one value stream versus another value stream. Business metrics, I think we all know about those: revenue, market share, again, customer lifetime value, etc. Technology business management may be new to you, especially if you are not from the US. Technology business management is looking at the cost of delivering our products and services to our internal customers. And it's also about charging back internal customers for their technology spending. Because if we don't do that, and if we don't monitor and regulate the amount of consumption, people will consume as much as they want. It's like an all-you-can-eat free buffet of technology. And we know that's not the case. We have very constrained IT resources, and we just can't keep going on and spending and spending and spending. So TBM will help us identify areas where we need to reduce our cost so that we can move money from running the business to growing the business. And then the general business metrics as well. The next slide here talks about how do you adopt value stream management. And one of the advice that you'll see in John Shook's and Rothman is the book Learning to See. And in their book, they say, start somewhere and then learn from experience. So, in SAFe, we say pick a value stream and begin training people on that value stream and so forth, and going on that roadmap. This is a roadmap as it pertains to implementing value stream management, as it pertains to the people, process, and technology aspects. So we want to train leaders in lean thinking. We want to choose that value stream based upon the criteria we showed before. We want to map both the business and development value streams. And then once we've mapped the value streams, we want to form the value stream teams. We wanted them to be cross-functional. We want them to be, we want to design our streamlined teams versus our platform teams versus our complicated subsystem teams. And then we then want to prioritize the improvements from the value stream mapping and continuously improve. There are also value stream roles that you need, such as a value stream manager, value stream architect, and product management for a value stream. And then you may need additional product managers within the value stream for a particular product or customer journey, perhaps. Then we continuously improve those value streams, and then we start with the next value stream and move on and continue. And then we want to implement the tooling. Once we understand the process, we can implement the appropriate tooling. And we want to be able to have a platform, not just implementing a point solution. We need a tool that can go across the different point solutions to orchestrate the whole software lifecycle. And then, of course, we need to be able to identify the metrics that we need. So one of the patterns that I recently learned is having a value stream and KPI metrics workshop where that value stream will determine what metrics it needs. And as much as possible, we want to get the metrics out of the exhaust of the various tools that are used in the value stream management system, such as the plan and the create tools, such as the release and deploy tools and such on. We don't want to be manually creating data. We don't want to also be taking lots of data from spreadsheets. It becomes very difficult to manage. So that's why you need a system which can ingest data from many different systems. And then you'll see this loop back from improve will then go to the next value stream. That's why it's looping back. And that's the end of my presentation. I know that was a lot of information, and I'll pause there. And I think we may have a minute or two for some questions, but I think we're towards the end of our time box.
Let's see. So one question is being asked. Will these slides be available?
Yes, they will. I'll provide a PDF of these slides.
Perfect. Yeah, you send them to me, and then I will make sure that they get posted and announced to the entire team,
Yes.
along with this recording.
And if you provide your email address to Steve, I will also give you a free copy of my next book. It's an ebook on value stream management. Just completed it recently, and it's much shorter than my normal books. It's only about 50 pages. Trying to be more agile and having smaller batches of work that we're doing.
Perfect. I'm trying not to engage in books that are over a couple hundred pages anymore because I just don't have time to finish them.
Yes, my backlog of books is way too high, and so using Audible, using book summaries and stuff, but it's never ending.
Thank you so much for that. So yeah, so you can, for those of you that don't know my personal email address, you can send it to steve@mowbray, MOUBRAY.com, and just put a note, put Richard's book in the title, and I'll make sure he gets that. So Richard's book to steve@mowbray.com. And I'm sure it will be an excellent book. I want a copy of it. So, all right. So what questions are we talking about here, ladies and gentlemen? Go ahead. I know we got many. I have a few. Oh, we have a couple of people who've raised their hands. Go ahead and talk. Go ahead and ask.
Hey, Richard, thank you so much. This is my second time meeting you virtually. If you recollect, our first meet was with Michael's presentation. Rich, I have two quick questions. I know it might be simple and basic. One is from the Spotify model. There is a myth of calling the journey group equalizing, as art. Is that right or is it wrong?
I'm not sure I got the last part. The journey.
Do we people map the journey as art? So is that a myth?
Well, it all depend. I mean, to me, I see that we want to organize teams around a particular stream of value that goes from concept to cash.
Right.
And so if you just organize a team around part of the customer journey, you've just created another silo. So I'm only going to do the first two steps of the customer journey, but we're not going to pay attention to the next two steps in the customer journey. We've just created another silo. And that's why I really like the guidance from Matt and Manuel on values, on stream-aligned teams and platform teams, etc.
Okay. My second question is, Rich, in this current organization, we're implementing some new program, and we're still in the process of like aligning ourselves with value stream. But there's this question about, so within this particular portfolio, can one value stream be mapped to just a single art? Because we're still in the process of getting through that value stream mapping, and the business team is kind of brainstorming things. So I'm just curious, in the experience, can that be true?
Yeah, absolutely. It all depends on the size of the value stream. If the value stream has between 50 and let's say 125 people or even 150 people, then one art can typically do that. However, I've also found over the past 7.5 years that a train which has 125 people on it is a pretty large train. And you need to experiment to see what's best. Is it best to have a smaller trains like around 50 or 75 people, or whether or not having them all together as one larger train makes sense. And there's also solutions in between as well, in which you can have multiple arts, but part of the planning is done with both arts together and they're playing at the same time. And all the value streams and the trains within them are on the same cadence, and so they can synchronize as well.
So that the answer to my question is that can be just one value stream mapped to one single art.
Right, and think of it this way: you have one value stream, and within the value stream is where you design your team of teams or your agile release train. So you have the value stream, and then figure out how are we going to organize the teams within the value stream. So that's how you should think of it.
All right. Thank you, Rich.
Sure.
Thank you. Yeah.
Maru, did you have a question?
Yes, I'll try to keep it concise. So, but in my knowledge, the Americanized so-called lean, as it was defined in North America, since the 80s, reused many concepts from value chains by Michael Porter and many other frameworks, and built on them. So these are things that, in my experience, I was in consulting for many years. In my experience, are very well known in business and management and very often used. So that's why I'm very, very surprised at the comments and also the discussion in the chat and also the comments in the presentation as to how to make this clear to business and management, why that should be a challenge. In fact, they think that way. However, there is a big divide in the way ops are seen across major silos when you go outside of finance and marketing and product definition and business operations into tech. And so from the perspective of the tech people, there is a divide which doesn't exist across the silos. They do work with that. You can even have balance sheets across value streams. So here's my question after this framing. I'm sure you've seen that. So what in your experience and in your view can we reuse from the whole body of knowledge that has been created since the 80s, since the works by Michael Porter and the Harvard gang on value chains and value streams? What can we reuse for our attempt to break that divide?
Yeah, I mean, we can use most of it. I think that the breakthrough of these past several years was figuring out how do we use the learning from lean. And quote, the American lean is really the same thing as what we learned from Toyota Production System in Japan. And John Shook and Mike Rother, studied and worked at Toyota and brought a lot of those learnings there, as well as Deming provided a lot of learning to the Japanese, in which they formed a lot of the lean manufacturing techniques. So it was one thing to apply something to lean manufacturing; it's another to apply it to software development. And it's not so visible. When you're coding at your desk, you can't see where the bottlenecks are so easily, and that's why value stream mapping is important. And then there's another part of that in which we want to be able to also have our tooling tell us, what the lead time is, what the cycle time is through the process. How much work in process do we have throughout the portfolio and within the value stream as well? So we can now automate getting doing the value stream mapping.
So, yeah, I'm glad you brought up work in process, because that is the area that I have seen missed most often, is ignoring the work in process for the portfolio, the programs, or all the way down. And I believe that if you implement Kanban, even if you do it poorly, and you just manage your WIP in process, or your WIP limits, you will achieve much better success than many Scrum teams do, or just launching Agile teams. Just doing that, even poorly, can drastically increase throughput.
Right. And my experience hasn't been the same as yours, Maru. I think most organizations have not been trained in these lean thinking and lean processes and practices and principles. Depends on what industry you're in. Many industries, especially if you're in manufacturing any type of product, will understand lean, but often that's limited to the people who are in manufacturing, and it hasn't been applied necessarily to marketing, to sales, to legal, HR, and so on. So really, it applies to the entire organization. And the whole point is that we don't want a separate operating model for the business versus technology. We want to have a shared lean operating model.
Thank you. Any other questions? I know Richard has had a long day. Anything else? I just got about 25 emails, by the way, Richard. So people are interested in the book. Again, if you want a copy of his book, and I know it's going to be great, type in, here's my email address one more time. I'm typing it in there. Any final words of wisdom? Should we give the guy a round of applause? Was he kick ass? Did he deliver like I said he would? I told you guys he was going to be great, didn't I?
Thank you. I appreciate
right.
it. It was a pleasure speaking to this group. And Steve, you're right. This is a great group of people. And,
it is. And I'm sorry you got here a little late. It would have been great for you to chat with the people in the beginning, but hopefully we'll have you back soon.
All right. Thank you very much. Everyone have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take care. We'll see you all soon.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.